Thanks, Mike. Good morning. Oh, we all look so happy and lovely today. If you're happy and lovely, say ha. Ha. Perfect. If you're really just putting on a facade, say ha. I thought so, pretty much. Anybody here have a normal childhood? What you consider a normal childhood? Say ha. Just the two of you. Okay, check this out now. Anybody here have kind of a strange, not so great childhood? Say ha ha. Perfect. That's pretty much, there really isn't any normal anymore these days, and I know that, and I appreciate that, and that's why I appreciate people. I can tell you from my own experience that I thought when I was growing up that I had a perfectly normal childhood. You have nothing to base it on. Nothing whatsoever. I was born as the first child into what would become a very, very small Irish Catholic family. Only 7 kids. So it was teeny. My father had graduated top in his class from Georgetown Medical School, #1, Georgetown Medical School. My mother had graduated top in her class, #1 from Yale Nursing School. So as you probably can figure out, my entire future was predetermined. I was to be an underachiever. I opted for that as opposed to a disappointment, and yet I was that too, apparently. It was kind of sad because my parents didn't believe in your standard parenting. Well, I guess it actually was standard parenting for back in those days, for that era, for people that were in Irish Catholic communities and in the big cities of New York and Newark, New Jersey. I think it was a very standard growing up. My parents had a very medieval idea of discipline, and since I was the first and the one that was the biggest disappointment, the one that was the biggest heartbreak, I was also the one that got the most discipline, and it was not happy and it was not painful. For the first 12 years of my life, I thought a belt was something you wore across your ass, because it wasn't a piece of clothing in our family. It was a piece of weaponry. But I did learn. I learned from all of that. And even though that was all messed up, there were some good things that we did have in our family. We always had music. We always had show albums. That's why you probably have heard me singing all the time, and often there's things from shows. Consider yourself our mate. We don't have no fuss. I know songs from almost every show in the world. Camelot, and we also had comedy albums. The great Bob Newhart, Alan Sherman, who was the far predecessor to Weird Al Yankovic. He used to do some great song parodies. George Carlin, when I could sneak off and listen to records that were dirty. Those are the ones I listened to. But when I was a kid, this is what I had to do. From the time I was 9 o'clock, because my parents weren't really too interested in raising kids. From the time I was 9 years old in 4th grade, I was in charge of everybody in our family. We went to a Catholic school 2.5 miles away from where I lived. 2.5 miles, not in our neighborhood, not very close, and I was in charge of myself and all my little siblings to get there. We walked every day, all these teeny little kids in their Catholic school uniforms, walking along like a line of ducks. If you ever see the ducks in the park, they just do that winding thing. And that's, to be a parent at 9 years old is a lot of responsibility for a kid. Responsibility, I think, is a fabulous thing, but putting that much responsibility on a kid is just a little bit too much. Plus, when we were back in New Jersey, my parents put me in grade school at 5 years old because they could, and they just wanted to get me out of the house as soon as possible. So when we came to Colorado and I went to school, I was a year younger, I was a year smaller than everyone else. I went to a school that was not in our neighborhood, and I was terrified. Now this is the perfect trifecta or hat trick, if you will, to be bully bait. I mean, those kids were after me all the time, and it really felt doubly bad to me because not only was I the parent, but I was the parent and I was being bullied. Not a happy time. But I did learn about dignity. I learned about bullies. Most bullies are that way because they were treated that way. Most bullies are hurting also. It's like Hemingway said, you know, we're all broken, but that's how the light gets in. And I just remember that, and I try to keep that in mind all the time whenever somebody's angry or mean or not so bright, let's put it. Then I started to realize all these things that were going on. I went to school, I went to the university. I didn't go to school here in the United States. I went to the CU in Boulder. I know, you've probably heard of it. It's a big piece of ground up there settled in the feet of the mountain, which is completely surrounded by reality. That's where I went to school. I majored in environmental design. Thank you very much. That's kind of the reaction I got at job interviews. It means I'm qualified to design a tree. And they're pretty much the way they were supposed to be, so there really wasn't a lot of work when I got out of school. But I did follow my heart when I got out of school, and I went into what I still consider to this day to be my perfect career. I started doing stand-up comedy. It's something I always wanted to do. Literally, when I was 6 years old, people would say, "So what do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to be a comedian." Usually you'd lock a kid like that up. You really would. But and I learned that to reach out a little bit because when I was a kid, after I got home from school, taking all the kids to school, the little kids, you know, back in the day, it was really tough work. Taking care of all these little kids, getting bullied at school, getting disciplined at home, and things like that. So when my tour of duty, working with the kids every day, was done, I would hide. That's what I would do. I was so just terrified to my soul. When I slept at night, I would actually sleep in the crack between the bed and the wall, all wrapped up in blankets, because it just felt safe that way. In our storage room in the basement, where we had all the empty boxes and things, I would actually build hiding places, hiding forts, and I would spend hours and hours in them. And then one day, while I was looking for a new place to hide, I figured out how to get this door off this sliding door off this cabinet without unlocking it. And that's when I found my parents' liquor cabinet. And I discovered a new place to hide. And that is where I hid for many years after that, inside that bottle. Because I was in pain, I was broken, and I hadn't learned to let the light in through the broken parts yet. So you use that to numb yourself, but you learn, and you continue to learn, and you continue to follow your responsibilities. You continue to carry on. And that's why I got into the comedy business, into the humor business, because there is nothing that makes you feel better than giving. Honestly, you have to give. I don't have a lot of money, I don't have a lot of time. There's one thing I can give, and I give smiles. That's what I enjoy, and I had the privilege of doing that for such a long time, going all over the world, just making people laugh. When you give to other people, it makes you feel good. Seriously and honestly and demonstrably, scientifically, if you do good works, you do feel better. It helps your physiology, it helps your mind, and it really easily helps your soul. In 2001, as you recall, we had a large tragedy that happened in New York City, that bombing of the World Trade Center, and a lot of people in the country, the United States, just freaked out completely. They didn't have any money for anything. They didn't have any money for entertainment. A lot of the clubs where I made my money in the Midwest closed down. And after a few years of trying to squeak by on that kind of income, I decided, well, it's time for me to grow up, to go out and get a real job to support my family. Ooh, that did not work out so well. I had really never been in a real corporate type position before. Talk about square peg meet round hole. I felt like the kid was up there with a hammer trying to jam me in there. Didn't work out real well for me, but it's what you gotta do. You gotta do what you gotta do. In May of 2009, my wife lost her job. She had a pretty good job. She was a communication director for a union. But she lost her job, and it was a good job. We actually missed having it primarily because we missed the health benefits that we got from it. But it was no big deal. We moved on. Heck, I had this nice job selling office supplies. Then in June of 2009, I lost my job. Bad economy downturn. What could have happened in around 2009? But anyway, I lost my job. It was a good job, and we had health benefits, but now no health benefits. We lived in a condo down in Capitol Hill. It was just a little one-bedroom place, but it was ours, and it was nice. But you know what? As it turns out, if you don't pay your mortgage, they repossessed your house. And that's what they did. So we had to get out of there before they kicked us out. We found a little place over in Mayfair. Really kind of a, you know what they call them in Mayfair? They call them cottages. Doesn't that sound pretty and cute and quaint? It was a cottage. 400 square feet of really bad bricks with no insulation. It was cold in the winter. It was hot in the summer. It was really crappy. But it had a bright light at the end of the tunnel. I joined Toastmasters right back then, and that was wonderful. And it taught me that I could take the skills I had before and move along and pass on some of my humor to other people. I love to give. Like I said, giving is great, and giving smiles and giving happiness not only makes you feel good, but it actually makes the people that you give that gift to feel good. Just an example, the job that I use to earn money, I worked for a van rental company, and one of our vans had broken down in the mountains. Boom! Transmission went. We had to have it towed about 70 miles into Steamboat Springs to go to a transmission shop. The guy had it for about a week, and he calls up, oh, it's done, I'll leave it outside for you. So I get a ride up to Steamboat Springs in the middle of January. It's snowing like crazy. I pick up the van. Woohoo, it works just perfectly. I pull out of the parking lot, drive down the street, and realize something's wrong. This van has flat tires all the way around in it. Here it is, 10:30 at night on a Sunday night in Steamboat Springs with a van that I'd been waiting for a week to get repaired, and it breaks down on me in a blizzard. I managed, and I didn't get discouraged because I try not to do that. I don't believe in that anymore. I think if you put on a happy face, it will make a difference. And that also has been proven. If you just smile, put on the stupidest smile you want and hold it for 35 seconds, you will feel happier because you're sitting there going, God, I feel stupid. And about 20 seconds later, that starts going, and you do get, literally, you will be happier. That's kind of the way I deal with life. So while I'm there waiting for my van to get towed again, I go into a grocery store to buy myself something to eat. Now this is what I have to give people, and by golly, I'm more than willing to do it because I enjoy it and they enjoy it too. I bought a whole bunch of stuff and I rang it up. They rang it up. The cashier was there and she had a bagging girl with her and there was somebody else and they were all chatting. And my total came to $10.13. And all I had was a 20. I gave her 20 and said, wait, don't break that yet, okay? Because I've got some change. And I reached into my pocket and I pulled out a handful of coins. There were probably 50 coins in my hand. Quarters and dimes and pennies and nickels. And I got them out and I kind of picked through them to get the 13 cents. And the woman says, wow, that is a lot of coins. And I said, well, you know, tips, because I'm a naked dancer. And of course, she and the bagging girl and everybody within earshot just cracked up. And regardless, you know that that improved their day. You know that they felt better from then on. I do that all the time. Just pick somebody randomly on the street and start chatting with them. The people I run into the most, the people I share my gift with the most, are the people that are in the service industry. Because let's face it, they're the ones you run into the most. Everywhere you go, there's somebody in the service industry. Your bus driver, your Uber driver, your Lyft driver, the people, the cashiers at the grocery stores, at 7-Elevens, you see them all the time. And they're having kind of a bad day. If I were to ask them, you having a good day? Say, ha? They'd say, But whenever I see those people, I try to make them happy. I was waiting in line at an Home Depot. Office is a little bit different than home unless you have a home office. Anyway, I was at the Home Depot, and I'm at the checkout, and the guy in front of me has a pickaxe and a shovel. And so I said to him, I said, oh yeah, man, I hate that part too, getting rid of the body. And of course, this guy cracked up. It was very funny. So did the cashier too. As it turns out, he was in witness relocation, and we probably ought to not mention that anymore. But whenever I'm walking down the street, I see a guy walking 2 Malamutes. And I said, dude, wait a second. You've lost your sled. So I know, I love doggies. So you can actually develop your sense of humor. Everybody here loves to laugh, don't you? Don't you love when you tell a joke at a party or something and people laugh? Does that make you feel good? Say ha. Does it make you feel really good? Say ha ha. I know, doesn't it? That's why I think it's so funny. We love it so much when people laugh when we're telling a joke. And yet most people, I don't want to give a speech. What if they laugh at me? Duh. Cha-ching if they laugh at you. You're doing great. So if you want to develop this, I can give you a few rules about how to develop your humor chops. First of all, while you're sitting there right now looking at me, clear your mind completely. Man, you guys are quick. Boy, I'll tell you, just a bunch of empty minds in front of me right now. That is perfect. Clear your mind. Breathe. Take a nice deep breath. If you learn how to breathe properly, it is the most relaxing thing you can do. It's probably one of the most difficult things. People breathe wrong. So if you learn how to breathe properly, you'll be much more healthy. You'll be much more relaxed. Smile, like I said before. It goes a long way. It makes other people feel good. It makes you feel good as well. Be aware. Most people in this world go through life without paying attention to anything. You see people driving in the car. I've seen a woman texting on her phone, putting on her makeup while driving the car. She can do all of that while driving the car, and I'll bet she's the first one to go, why don't you put the toilet seat down? If you can multitask like that, put the toilet seat down yourself. That's all I have to say. But anyway, but be aware of things. There's so much beauty to be had out there. There's so much love. There's so much kindness. Don't dwell on that. Just dwell on the good stuff. Be present. Same thing about being awareness. Be present. Or if you're having trouble, be present. So, which would actually, a be present would actually be getting rid of Monsanto products. Pray or meditate. Whatever makes you feel the best. Do one of these things or the other because it will help center you and make you feel better. Get a dog. Dogs are so much fun. Dogs, number one, will love you no matter what. And you can learn so much from them. They're wonderful. These are actually my dogs. That's little Violet, and that's Biggles, and they are our home entertainment center at home. One of the things I do is every morning I get up and I do my morning pages. Morning pages, I learned this from The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. You just take a pad of paper and you just start writing, basically stream of thought. Write until you've completed 3 different pages. First thing you do without ever thinking. And it's amazing what it does for you. It's amazing. It clears your head. It actually starts to generate some creativity in you. It's really just a terrific thing to do. These are all resources that you can use yourself. I found this little book in a store, Laffirmations. And it's little sayings by all kinds of famous people and all kinds of not so famous people about how to look at things a little bit differently, a little bit happier. Try Mad Libs. Have you ever done that? This is how you can develop some writing skills, perhaps. Mad Libs are these little books that kids have. There are hundreds of them where they just ask you to do nouns and verbs and adjectives and everything else, and you fill in the blanks, and that puts them into a story. I actually have an app on my phone that does Mad Libs. They're fun, and it's good practice for developing humor, developing jokes. Mads, snappy answers to stupid questions. These are so fun, because it's something that you can read and laugh at, but you can also participate in. They've got a guy that asks a stupid question, and then people answer them. The one that was my favorite was 2 explorers, and they're in mud up to here. And the one guy goes, "Is this quicksand?" And the other one says, "No, it's slow sand. What's your hurry?" So that's, yeah. But anyway, these are always fun for developing your humor. For relaxation, I recommend adult coloring books. This one is done by a friend of mine, Teresa Roberts, who lives in the DC area. It's for Paisleys, and it's very relaxing. My wife and I said, we're really ahead of the curve. We've been coloring for years. Yeah, we got those big posters, and you just color them up. So those are some resources you can use. You have to have the courage to be silly. This is a quote from Amy Poehler. There's power in looking silly and not caring that you do. So what can you do? Well, take a comedy writing class, or take my comedy writing class. Take an improv class, or take my improv class. Do one of those laughing yoga sessions. Oh boy, they're fun. They really get you relaxed, and they get you laughing. And put on your rose-colored glasses and your big red nose, and don't care if you look silly, because a smile is the light in the window of your soul. Go out and give some laughter. Have a great day. Ha ha. I probably still have more slides.